Hey everybody, it's Triple J and welcome to another tutorial for Rimworld, a story generator by Tynan Sylvester. This is the third and last formal video of this Getting Started series, and I apologize. It has been a while between this video and the last, but thank you so much for your patience and your overwhelming support of these tutorial videos. I really do appreciate it. Last time we did an overview of the menu bar and touched on what each of these buttons mean. Today, we are going to the right side and the information that this gives you to help you along as you build your colony. These sometimes can get overlooked by tutorials, but there is a lot of info in these buttons, and I get asked about a lot of these when we are streaming. So I thought that since we're tackling this game step by step, that we should touch on all of this info as well before sort of diving into the actual gameplay. So let's start from your notifications and the basic stats and kind of work our way down. So first things that you'll see here are your notifications. This is the game telling you that there are some issues that you may want to address. So first thing that we are seeing here is Hunter lacks ranged weapon. So what it's showing here is if you hover over it, it'll show you a little arrow, which means that Braz here is lacking a ranged weapon, and that is because he is scheduled or signed to be our hunter. So if I was to take this away, that will go away on there on the screen. Now if I put it back, see, it just dinged me and it shows me that a hunter lacks ranged weapons. So simply all I need to do to counter that is just to equip his bolt action rifle, and that will also go away based on that. There you go. Next one is saying that we need defenses. So yeah, we're going to be here a while. There's going to be pirates. There's going to be bandits coming to steal our stuff and kill us. And that they're just indicating that we need defenses. Now, of course, the game isn't telling you exactly what defenses to get, but you can find all of that in the security tab, which we went over last time. Again, these will be things that we will go over kind of when we go through our first few days of this deal. Next is needing recreation variety. Again, you can scroll over all of these and they will show you, it'll tell you kind of what you need to do for the beginning. Essentially, all you really need to do under recreation is make a horseshoe pin. Now you pop a pin down, they will stand at it, they'll throw horseshoes, they're gonna love it. Now that can get you pretty far, and for our purposes, that's what we're gonna be doing for this first part. Next is needing meal source. Basically the game is saying, hey, you're not making any food. You have some meals here, but you're not making any food yet. So you need to get a stove up, you need to get a butcher table. Again, it tells you some of these things down here. You can build this campfire to make some food, different things, but it's not indicating, it's not necessarily, this shouldn't be used as like a quest tab. It's really more for just giving you some info saying, hey, you might want to do this so you don't die. This last one is here, one colonist idle. So as it's showing here that Clara is wandering idly, meaning that Clara has no job to do right now. That is a very useful one to show, especially early on when you're kind of still getting used to the priority system and how it works. This allows you to say, okay, she's idle, so why is she idle? And then you can kind of go through, well, she's not cooking and she's not mining because I have nothing assigned to mining. If I was to go over here and put an order to mine, what would happen is Clara would now no longer be idle because she has a job that she's assigned to do active. Following these will help you a bit, but overall when getting started, it's a little vague and it won't help you for too long. This is not a way to sort of follow along with the game. It won't tell you what to do next necessarily. These are simply just reminders, not necessarily a guide to help you move through the game. But definitely handy to check when there is an issue. Oftentimes you'll get a low on food notification. Then that allows you to make adjustments before it becomes a huge problem. So right now we don't see that because we don't really have food inside of our stockpile yet. We just have meals. But if we were to harvest some of these potatoes, it would probably tell us, hey, you're kind of low on food, usable food to make into meals. So different things like that can be very helpful for. Next is your temperature, and that fluidly changes based on being indoors or outdoors and where you are on the map. So outdoors, we are 85 degrees. Now, if we hover over it, we are indoors, and it is also 85 degrees inside. This is always good to see when building structures to make sure that your colonists are comfortable from the heat and the colds. Next, this shows you your current weather. It is raining. If you hover over the weather condition, it will show you how this affects your colonists. This is your current time of day. It operates on a 24-hour clock. And next is the day, quadrum, and year you are in, and then the season. This is helpful for seeing how far into your current map's growing period you are, and if you hover over it, it will also show you at a glance how long it's been since you arrived on the planet. You've been here for 2 days so far. Here it just shows you if you are paused, active, and at what speed you are running the simulation. The spacebar will pause and unpause time. The 1, 2, and 3 buttons will alter your speed accordingly. There we've gotten our first notification. This is another type of notification. These are sort of the events that are happening in your colony, and these will get sort of dropped on you. This is a neutral one. It's indicated, it's just sort of white, means it's neutral, means that a visitor is visiting the colony. So someone is coming through, and it does not indicate that they have anything to trade, so they will just sort of wander on the map. Not a whole lot you can do with them. You could kill them, you could capture them, but that would anger the faction, and that's a whole other deal. So for now, we'll just uncheck that. Now, if you ever want to go back and find any of those things, now that we've seen this, you can go to your history, messages, and it will show you the messages and on what day you got it, and it'll tell you kind of what was happening with it. This is useful for when you're getting raids or if a trader's coming through, different things like that. Okay, but let's get back on track here. So now for some helpful overlays and stat buttons, and these little guys down here. This top button, as you can see, if you click on it, it will simply change how your resources are shown to you in the top left of the screen. Either all of them are visible, or they are listed cleanly in folders. I prefer the cleanly in folders option because if you have it unchecked, it will literally just show you all of the resources that you have in your stockpiles all listed out, and that can just sort of clutter your sidebar a little bit. So I prefer the folder version where you can pick and choose which folders you want to show and which ones you can hide, because you don't really need to access that information at the time. Next is the toggle button for automatically rebuilding destroyed structures. This is a button that I automatically check as soon as I start. You will start with it unchecked by default, but I always check this because what this means essentially is if a raider comes and throws a grenade into your bedroom and destroys all of this stuff, if you have it toggled on, the blueprints will automatically go back so your builder can go and start working on, rebuilding it. If you don't have it checked, it will just destroy it, and then you'll have to manually do that yourself. So I like doing that because generally speaking, I probably want to put back what was destroyed. And of course you can always delete the blueprint if you don't want it to be there after it's destroyed. This next button is the automatic expanding of the home area. Now, what is home area? Well, we touched on home area last time a little bit in the menu bar tutorial. So under zones, you can see here you can expand your home area or clear your home area. Home area is the zone that surrounds any colony structures or stockpiles. So when I placed that horseshoe pin, it then created home area around it. So you can shrink it, you can make it larger yourself, but home area is important for a few reasons. Colonists will only clean floors and extinguish fires inside of your home area. So this button just generally says, do you want to do that automatically or not? Because if I have this toggled off and I build that same horseshoe pin and I let them build this, if I go back to my zone, it's not in the home area. By default, it will automatically place itself around a colony structure or stockpile. So this button simply turns that feature off. Now be aware, it is extremely easy to forget that your home area isn't on auto placement and can be a bit of a nuisance when you have a fire blazing in your base and you're wondering why no one is putting it out. Been there. Personally, I have it on, and I will just pare back the home area around spots that I don't want to be cleaned or necessarily need fire coverage for. For example, if I place a stockpile away from my base, that will collect, let's say, rotting corpses. Well, I don't need my colonists to go out there to sweep up some dirt or corpse bile, and I don't care if it starts on fire. I also don't need them to get upset that they have to go look at a corpse, so in that instance, I would remove the home area. Next one is terrain affordance. So this gives you a more helpful look. This is an overlay for you to use, and this gives you a helpful look at what terrain is buildable and what might need bridges on or is simply untraversable. So on our map, the blue is showing the water and the red is mud. Bridges can only hold some structures and only wooden walls or doors. So this is just a little helpful, handy look at, if I was going to build a wall cutting through here, I just want to be able to clearly and cleanly see, especially when there's vegetation over it, where I can build that wall. The next overlay is a fertility overlay, and this is another useful one to see at a glance where you may have rich soil on your map. Your crops will grow faster in rich soil, which provides 140% fertility, which can be very helpful to get more yields of a certain crop in a growing season. So you can see along here, there's some rich soil just along the edges of this mud down here. It's just very easy to see. There's also a huge patch right here. The lighter green is 100% fertility, and then the yellow indicates 70%. So any ground that is not colored here, you cannot grow plant life on. So this is a handy one I use all the time. This is the roof overlay. This again will show a light green. This shows you that there is a roof over a specific structure, or in this case, a slight overhang on a mountain tile. These can be removed by your colonists under zone and remove roof area. It's important when deconstructing a structure to remove the roof first before destroying walls so the roof does not collapse on them and accidentally kill them. So it's good to do a quick check before taking something apart. For example, I would want to say remove that roof area. Then anybody who has the construction skill and is assigned to construction will take off that roof area. Now, of course, I don't want to do that. I want them to have it. And to take that away, you can simply say ignore roof area. Now, I didn't see off the bat that we had any, but I see just one little tile right here. This is a darker green tile. This indicates overhead mountain, and this cannot be undone. It cannot be taken away. It can still collapse on you if you have too much overhead mountain with no supports around it. So a note about overhead mountain is that if you mine out some spaces of overhead mountain, it seems perfectly fine. But know that it does open you up to a potential insect infestation down the road, depending on a few factors like distance from your nearest colony structure and lighting, etc., etc. We haven't really discussed insect infestations, but that might be something we tackle later on. They are often messy and dangerous to deal with, and I hate them with a passion. So if you have a desire, though, to do a big mountain base, all I'm saying is proceed with caution. There are ways to battle it, but I try to avoid them at all costs. Some people, that's just a personal preference. Some people don't mind infestations as much. I've had bad experiences with infestations in the past. I try to avoid them. The next button here simply toggles on and off the Colonist Bar. Generally you want this on, but if you're taking a screenshot or you want to show something off, it could be handy to tick it off for a moment just to do a screen grab. The best thing though about this button is that if you scroll over it, it tells you that by right-clicking, you can move the order of your colonists at the top. So you right-click and you can drag them across. This is something I did not know for probably the first 3 years of playing this game. And when we still stream Rimworld, I get asked about how I'm moving them probably almost every time I do it, because it is such a handy tool. Oftentimes I will order my colonists sort of from left to right in terms of their shooting skill, or you could just at a glance do it in another way. I don't know. It's just can be very handy though to slide them about if you need to. These next two buttons are about room statistics. This is a little bit more in depth, but it's also a very important factor for your colonists' happiness and comfort. Room stats and room beauty. So the room stats will show you a bunch of things relating how your colonists view a room. So if we turn this on and I go inside this room here, this will tell me that it is a barracks, multiple beds, 4 sleeping quarters. It will show you the impressiveness, wealth, space, beauty, and cleanliness, not only as a number and what that means to your colonists' thoughts. So the impressiveness is 17. That's awful. That's how your colonists view it. The wealth is 498. That means it's impoverished, etc., etc. So this can be a very handy tool down the road to use when trying to make very comfy bedrooms for finicky colonists. But for starting out and on easier difficulties, I wouldn't worry or stress too much about this. Cleaning is the most important thing, and I will show you that right now. I think yes, perfect. So this is beauty factor. So if let me turn this off. This is beauty factor. So this looks a little wonky, but essentially what it means is where the mouse pointer is located shows you each tile's beauty value if a colonist was standing in that spot. So as you can see outside, we're getting a bunch of -1s, but the flowers are +3. So the general beauty right here on this tile is -1.1 because they're getting some negatives from the ugly rock chunks and things like that. And it also works inside of rooms. It'll show you an overall beauty factor and sort of the numbers that are pertaining to it. So the dirty spot on the floor that Clara just walked over is giving a -15 to this room, putting the overall beauty at -0.3. So cleanliness is truly important on the rim. Your colonists have so many other things to worry about, but they like a clean room over many other things. So, like I said, I believe I might have touched on this in the first tutorial, or no, the menu bar tutorial, excuse me, when we were going over the things. Cleaning is on the sort of lower end of the priority list, but I highly recommend that you keep your base clean whenever possible. This next button is toggle zones. This is just another aesthetic button. It simply toggles the visibility of your stockpile zones or your growing zones, the colors. It just takes the colors of them away. You can still click on them, of course, even when it's gone, but it's just a little bit cleaner to see without them. Sometimes though, if it's a stockpile or a very small stockpile, you can kind of lose it maybe if it's not colored. I generally just leave them on. This last button toggles the visibility of the learning helper. Now, I do not have it active, but if you go into your options, you can have this on by simply checking it right here. Learning helper is something up in the right-hand corner. I highly suggest when starting out to have this on. If you're a newer player or you're just going over some basics of the game, you can look at different things like covering and shooting, and it'll tell you some more things. All different types of mechanics and how they operate. Again, this can be a little overwhelming because it looks like a lot of things you have to know, but can be very, very helpful. So what this does is if you want to just toggle it on and off real quick, instead of going into the options, you can do that as well. It will only toggle it off if there is not an active concept being learned. That's just something to note. That is going to wrap it up, this tutorial video. This was a bit of a shorter one, but these were buttons that I didn't want to throw into the menu bar, but I knew that were going to be very, very important because they still offer a lot of information, and that kind of goes over almost everything that you're going to see here on the screen. I have some ideas on specific mechanics that we could discuss moving forward, but let me know in the comments what other aspects of the game you would like to see a tutorial of. Something in the game you are struggling with and possibly others could use some tips on as well. Let me know. For the next video, it will be a little bit less formal and more free-flowing as I plan to go through starting a new map with new pawns and take you through the first few days as I would play it and go over as much as possible during that time. But that is going to do it for this final 3-part video series on getting started in Rimworld, the very, very basics. Thanks to everyone for watching this and supporting these tutorials, and I hope this Getting Started series has helped you out in beginning your journey in Rimworld. I stream Rimworld over on Twitch. Just pop over and say hello if you ever want to ask any questions and hang out with our community. We also have a Rimworld channel in our Discord where you can post screenshots of your colony or ask any questions. We have lots of knowledgeable Rimworld folk always willing to help. Both of those links are in the description below. Thank you again, everyone, for watching, and I am looking forward to making more of these in the future. And as always, I will see you next time. Bye, everybody.